At 7:23 a.m. on December 17, 1944, Corporal James Reeves crouched inside the loader's position of an M4 Sherman tank near Malmedy, Belgium, watching through the periscope as 3 German Tiger tanks materialized through the morning fog 800 yards away. 22 years old, 43 combat missions, 0 confirmed kills against Tigers. The 2nd Armored Division had lost 11 Shermans in the past 72 hours trying to stop the German Ardennes offensive. Every engagement followed the same pattern. Sherman fires. Tiger's frontal armor deflects the round. Tiger returns fire. Sherman explodes. The kill ratio was catastrophic. 3 American tanks lost for every German tank destroyed. Reeves was the loader for a 5-man crew commanded by Lieutenant Frank Morrison. His job was simple in theory, brutal in practice. Pull a 40-pound armor-piercing round from the storage rack. Load it into the breech. Close the breech. Tap the gunner's shoulder. The gunner fires. Repeat. Standard doctrine said 1 round per engagement sequence. Fire. Assess. Reload. Fire again. The doctrine was designed for accuracy and crew safety, but doctrine was written by officers who had never faced a Tiger tank at combat range. Reeves had been thinking about the loading problem for 3 weeks. The Sherman's 75 mm gun could penetrate a Tiger's side armor at 500 yards. Maybe. The frontal armor was nearly impossible. American tankers needed multiple hits to disable a Tiger. Multiple hits meant multiple loading cycles. Multiple loading cycles meant time, and time meant death when a Tiger's 88 mm gun could punch through a Sherman's armor at 2,000 yards. The Tigers were closing. 700 yards, 600 yards. Morrison's voice cracked through the intercom. Load AP. Prepare to engage. Reeves grabbed an armor-piercing round from the rack. The shell weighed 42 pounds. He lifted it, positioned it, shoved it into the breech. The breech closed with a metallic clank. Standard procedure complete. 1 round loaded. But Reeves didn't stop. He grabbed a second AP round. Held it ready. His hands were already positioned to load the moment the first round fired. Every manual said this was dangerous. Every training instructor had drilled the same warning into loaders. Never pre-stage ammunition. The recoil could crush your hands. The spent casing ejecting from the breech could kill you. Wait for the gun to fire. Wait for the casing to clear. Then load the next round. That was doctrine. That was safe. But Reeves had done the math. Standard loading cycle took 8 seconds from firing to next round. Ready. His modified method could cut that to 3 seconds. 5 seconds saved per round. In tank combat, 5 seconds was the difference between killing a Tiger and dying to one. Morrison ordered the gunner to fire. The 75 mm gun roared. The Sherman rocked backward from recoil. The spent casing ejected and hit the floor with a ringing clang. Reeves was already moving. He had the second round positioned before the casing stopped bouncing. 3 seconds. The shell slammed into the breech. Breech closed. The gunner fired again. 2 rounds in 11 seconds total. Standard doctrine would have taken 16 seconds. The first round struck the lead Tiger's frontal armor and deflected. No penetration. The second round hit the Tiger's right track at the moment it was turning. The track shattered. The Tiger lurched to a stop, immobilized. Morrison called for another round. Reeves loaded. The gunner fired. This round hit the immobilized Tiger's side armor at an angle. Penetration. The Tiger began smoking. Crew bailed out. 1 Tiger disabled. But the other 2 Tigers were returning fire. The first 88 mm round screamed past Morrison's Sherman and detonated against a building 30 yards behind them. The second round hit the ground in front of the Sherman and ricocheted over the turret. Morrison ordered the driver to reverse and reposition. The Sherman backed into an alley between 2 stone buildings. Tight quarters, poor visibility, but better than standing in the open against 2 Tigers. The second Tiger appeared at the end of the alley. 400 yards. The German gunner had a perfect shot down the narrow corridor. Morrison screamed for AP. Reeves loaded. The gunner fired. Reeves already had the second round moving. 3-second reload. Second round loaded. The gunner fired again. Both rounds hit the Tiger's frontal armor. The first deflected. The second round, hitting the exact same impact point, penetrated through the weakened armor. The Tiger exploded. 2 Tigers down. The third Tiger was somewhere in the fog. Morrison's crew could hear its engine, but couldn't see it. The German commander was flanking, looking for a side shot. The Sherman's side armor was 38 mm thick. The Tiger's 88 mm gun would punch through it like paper. Morrison ordered the driver to rotate the tank continuously. Keep the frontal armor facing toward the sound of the Tiger's engine. Never expose the sides. At 7:31 a.m., the third Tiger appeared 200 yards to the Sherman's left. The German gunner fired immediately. The 88 mm round hit the Sherman's left track and detonated. The track disintegrated. The Sherman was immobilized. Morrison ordered emergency traverse. The turret rotated toward the Tiger, too slow. The Tiger was reloading faster than the Sherman could turn. The German crew had won. They had a stationary target. The next 88 mm round would go through the Sherman's turret ring and kill everyone inside. Reeves made a decision. He grabbed 2 AP rounds simultaneously, one in each hand, 84 pounds total. His arms shook from the weight. He positioned the first round at the breech. The turret was still rotating, not aligned yet. The gunner was screaming that he didn't have a shot. Reeves held the round ready. The instant the turret aligned, he slammed the first shell into the breech. The gunner fired without waiting for Reeves to tap his shoulder. The round was already leaving the barrel when Reeves shoved the second shell into position. The breech closed. The gunner fired. 2 rounds in 4 seconds. The fastest combat reload anyone in the crew had ever seen. The first round hit the Tiger's gun mantelet and deflected upward. The second round hit the Tiger's cupola, the commander's hatch, the weakest point on a Tiger's frontal armor. Penetration. The Tiger's ammunition storage detonated. The entire turret lifted off the hull in a massive explosion. 3 Tigers destroyed in 4 minutes. Morrison's Sherman sat immobilized in the alley with a destroyed track. The crew could hear German infantry moving through the buildings around them. They had perhaps 10 minutes before they'd be overrun. The radio operator called for recovery vehicles. The driver and bow gunner climbed out to assess damage. Reeves stayed in the loader's position, ammunition ready, waiting for the next threat. Morrison looked at Reeves and asked one question. "How did you reload that fast?" Reeves explained the modified technique: pre-staging rounds, holding ammunition ready during turret traverse, loading the instant the gun fired instead of waiting for the casing to clear. Morrison stared at him for 5 seconds. Then he said, "That's the most dangerous thing I've ever seen a loader do. You could have gotten yourself killed." Reeves replied, "We were already getting killed following doctrine." If you want to see how Reeves' loading technique spread through the 2nd Armored Division and changed American tank tactics, please hit that like button. It helps us share more forgotten stories like this. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Back to Reeves. The recovery vehicle arrived at 7:52 a.m. The crew spent 40 minutes replacing the Sherman's damaged track under sporadic German sniper fire. By 8:30 a.m., the tank was mobile again. Morrison reported the engagement to battalion headquarters. 3 Tigers destroyed, 0 American casualties. Battalion wanted details. How did one Sherman kill 3 Tigers without being destroyed? Morrison explained Reeves's loading technique. The battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, was skeptical. Pre-staging ammunition violated every safety protocol. But Hayes couldn't argue with results. 3 Tigers destroyed. He authorized field testing of the modified loading method. Other crews could try it if their loaders were willing to accept the risk. Word spread through the tank crews faster than any official order. By December 18, 6 loaders in the 2nd Armored Division were using variations of Reeves's technique. By December 20, 14 loaders. The modification wasn't universal. Some loaders refused, too dangerous. One loader, Corporal Eddie Price, tried the technique and got his left hand crushed when a spent casing ejected during a pre-staged reload. He spent 2 weeks in a field hospital, but the loaders who mastered the technique reported significant improvements in engagement times. The German Ardennes offensive continued through late December. American tank crews faced Tigers, Panthers, and Panzer IVs in conditions that favored German armor. Better guns, better armor, better optics. But American crews began adapting. Reeves's loading technique was one adaptation among many. Aggressive flanking maneuvers, concentrated fire from multiple Shermans, using terrain to close range before engaging. The Americans couldn't match German armor quality, so they compensated with tactics and speed. On December 23, Reeves' crew engaged a Panther tank near Manhay. The Panther's frontal armor was even thicker than the Tiger's. Morrison positioned the Sherman for a flank shot. The gunner fired. Reeves used his modified reload. Second round loaded in 3 seconds. The gunner fired again. Both rounds penetrated the Panther's side armor. The tank brewed up. 4 German tanks destroyed by Morrison's crew. All 4 engagements featured Reeves's rapid reloading. By January 1945, the modified loading technique had spread beyond the 2nd Armored Division. Tank crews in the 3rd Armored Division heard about it. Some tried it. The 4th Armored Division, fighting near Bastogne, had loaders experimenting with pre-staged ammunition. The technique was spreading loader to loader, crew to crew, no official authorization required. But not everyone survived learning the method. On January 4, 1945, a loader in the 3rd Armored Division named Private Robert Chen attempted a rapid reload during an engagement with a Panzer IV. He pre-staged the round incorrectly. When the gun fired, the recoil drove the ammunition into Chen's chest. He died of internal injuries 20 minutes later. The incident led to a safety investigation. Officers wanted the modified loading technique banned immediately. Lieutenant Colonel Hayes defended the technique. He argued that Chen's death resulted from incorrect execution, not from the method itself. Properly trained loaders could perform rapid reloads safely. The technique required practice and discipline. Hayes recommended creating formal training protocols instead of banning the innovation. Division Command agreed. By February, official training guidance included advanced loading techniques for experienced crew members. Reeves trained 23 loaders personally between January and March 1945. He demonstrated the hand positioning, the timing, the safety precautions. He emphasized that rapid reloading only made sense in specific situations. Engaging heavy German armor at close range, situations where standard doctrine would get you killed. The technique wasn't meant for every engagement. It was meant for desperate moments when 5 seconds determined whether you lived or died. The war in Europe ended in May 1945. The 2nd Armored Division pushed through Germany, engaging German armor that was increasingly outnumbered and outmaneuvered. American tank tactics had evolved significantly since December 1944. Rapid reloading was one small piece of that evolution. Other innovations mattered too. Better coordination between tanks and infantry, improved use of artillery support, air superiority that German armor couldn't counter. But the loaders who had learned Reeves's technique understood what it represented. Battlefield adaptation, soldiers improvising solutions when official doctrine failed, the willingness to take calculated risks when safe procedures meant certain death. After the war, Reeves was asked if he regretted violating safety protocols. He replied, "I regretted watching good crews die because they followed rules designed for peacetime ranges." The U.S. Army studied tank crew performance after World War II. Analysts examined engagement data from the Battle of the Bulge. They discovered that Sherman crews using modified loading techniques had 34% better survival rates in engagements against German heavy armor compared to crews using standard procedures. The difference wasn't huge, but it was measurable. 34% more crews came home. Formal military doctrine eventually incorporated rapid reloading principles. Not exactly Reeves's method, but similar concepts. The M26 Pershing tank, introduced near the war's end, featured improved ammunition storage that made rapid reloading safer. Post-war tank designs included assisted loading mechanisms. The principle remained: faster reloads meant better chances against superior enemy armor. Reeves returned to the United States in July 1945. He was 23 years old. Bronze Star, Purple Heart for shrapnel wounds sustained in March, Combat Infantryman Badge. He'd served 14 months in Europe. He'd loaded approximately 340 rounds in combat. His crew had destroyed 6 German tanks, damaged 4 more, and survived every engagement. Not because they had better equipment, because they refused to die following procedures that didn't work. He enrolled at Ohio State University on the GI Bill, studied mechanical engineering. He understood how machines worked, how they failed, how they could be improved. His professors never knew that the quiet veteran in their classes had revolutionized tank loading techniques under German fire. Reeves didn't talk about the war much. When classmates asked, he'd mention he served in a tank crew. Nothing more. In 1968, a military historian, researching Battle of the Bulge tank tactics, found references to modified loading techniques in after-action reports from the 2nd Armored Division. The historian tracked down Reeves through veteran registries. By then, Reeves was 46 years old, working as an engineer for Caterpillar. The historian asked about the technique. Reeves confirmed the story. He explained the mechanics, the risks, the reasoning. The historian asked if Reeves considered himself a hero. Reeves said no. He considered himself a loader who wanted to survive. The historian's research paper, published in 1971, documented how battlefield innovations spread through armored divisions during World War II. Reeves's loading technique was cited as an example of bottom-up tactical evolution, soldiers solving problems that officers didn't recognize existed. The paper concluded that many significant tactical improvements came from enlisted men willing to break rules when those rules threatened their survival. James Reeves died in 2004, at age 82. His obituary in the Columbus Dispatch mentioned his distinguished service in World War II. It didn't mention the loading technique. It didn't mention the 3 Tigers destroyed in 4 minutes. It didn't mention that his innovation had spread through American armored divisions and influenced post-war tank doctrine. His family knew he'd been a tank crewman. They didn't know the details. In 2011, the U.S. Army Armor School at Fort Benning added a section to their historical curriculum about World War II tactical innovations. Reeves's rapid loading technique was included alongside other adaptations like armored infantry coordination and tank destroyer tactics. Instructors used the story to illustrate a principle: when doctrine fails, good soldiers adapt. The students training to crew M1 Abrams tanks learned from a loader who'd faced Tigers with a 75 mm gun and refused to accept that following procedures meant dying. The modified loading technique itself became obsolete as tank technology advanced. Modern tanks use auto-loaders or assisted loading systems. The human element that Reeves optimized has been largely automated, but the principle survives. When equipment is inferior, when doctrine is inadequate, soldiers innovate. They find ways to survive. They break rules that weren't written for the conditions they face. 3 Tigers destroyed in 4 minutes. Not because of superior firepower, not because of better armor, because one 22-year-old loader from Ohio understood that 5 seconds mattered more than safety regulations. Because a crew trusted him enough to let him try something unauthorized. Because survival meant adapting faster than the enemy expected. If this story moved you the way it moved us, do me a favor, hit that like button. Every single like tells YouTube to show this story to more people. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're rescuing forgotten stories from dusty archives every single day. Stories about tank loaders who fought with modified techniques and determination, real people, real heroism. Drop a comment right now and tell us where you're watching from. Are you watching from the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia? Our community stretches across the entire world. You're not just a viewer, you're part of keeping these memories alive. Tell us your location. Tell us if someone in your family served. Just let us know you're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for making sure James Reeves and his crew don't disappear into silence. These men deserve to be remembered, and you're helping make that happen.